Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing some more front end mods on our 2020 Chevy Colorado Z71. Specifically today we'll be doing the front end lighting. We'll be going from the dull halogen headlamps and fog lamps and switching over to a set of LEDs. Now, I know a lot of research has gone into this, from my end at least. There's so many manufacturers, so many opinions online, and I thought, why not throw a little video up just to give my impressions and see. Hopefully this can help you guys as you're doing a little bit of research and modernizing the front end on your Colorado or similar vehicle, because I know some of these bulbs fit in multiple vehicles. The lights we have today going on the truck, first starting off with the fog lamps. These are the JDM ASTAR LED fog lamps. Got them on Amazon. There's the part number and I'll throw a link in the description. These guys, I've heard and seen reviews that they're essentially bright enough to be your low beams. So really excited to get these guys on, especially driving at night. It'll be nice to be able to have extra brightness when there are no other cars around, so that way you can see more of the road ahead of you. Then, for our low beam and high beam combo, we will be using some Sealight S2s. These are the H11 and 9005 size bulbs. Those are the ones that fit my Chevy Colorado. And the reason I chose these guys were that, well, first of all, we don't have to do any modifications to our light housing. And what I mean by that is, you'll see when we install these guys, there is a weather shield kind of cover on the back of our headlight housing. These require no modification to be installed in the vehicle, which is good, because I don't want any water seeping into the back of my headlights or getting into these guys and ruining them. Second of all, the reason I chose these were for the fact that there were no complaints about radio interference. I know some of these LED headlights that you install have interfered with the radio reception. I don't know exactly how that works, but I wanted to avoid that. I still want to be able to listen to the radio when I have my headlights on, so these seemed like the best bet. And I'll link these on the description as well so you guys can take a look. And you guys are probably asking yourselves, wait a minute, it's daytime outside. Yes, I know, I didn't want to do the install in the dark, even though it's fairly straightforward, just a plug and play setup with all of these lights up front. I just want to be able to do everything in the daylight, and we'll get some driving impressions later at night when I have these guys installed on the truck. And chances are, if you guys are watching this video, you either own a Chevy Colorado, second gen Colorado, or a similar truck or other vehicle that has very poor headlight quality, which seems to be all of them nowadays. So you kind of have a baseline in your head of how bad these stock lights are. Just for an example, I can have my high beams on at night and oncoming traffic rarely flashes me. I think I've been flashed 1 or 2 times at the most. So either people don't know how to flash back, or they're just that dull, and I'm leaning towards the second of those two. So we'll go ahead, get these guys installed, and give you our impressions later on tonight. So we'll go ahead and start with the fog lights. And if you guys remember from installing our front receiver hitch, in order to remove these wheel well liners, I know they're very dirty, sorry guys, didn't get a chance to overly clean this truck before we start. Takes a T15 Torx bit, and you'll just have a couple bolts and screws just along the way. So go ahead, remove these guys first, and that'll give us access to the other side of our wheel well. And once we remove the fender liner, you can see our fog light housing right over there. I'll get you guys set up in a better location because I'm just holding you guys still right now. But essentially, to take that housing off, or at least to get the light off of the housing, you'll see 2 tabs, one on the top, one on the bottom. We'll squeeze those guys in and remove our socket. Okay, got you guys on a stand. Hopefully I don't get in the way too much of you guys seeing that. We have a tab on the top and the bottom. Squeeze the 2. And remove. And just pull straight back out. And there you go. We have our bulb right there. So what we're going to want to do is remove our connector on here and replace it with our new LED bulb. And the important thing to note is if you plan on saving your bulbs like I am, make sure you wear a pair of rubber gloves. You don't want any of your oils from your skin to get on here and reduce the lifespan of your bulb in case you want to give it to the next owner or you revert back for some reason to the halogen. So get this guy off and get the new one on. Okay, so now got our new bulb. Very gently we're going to reinstall the connector, and if you guys will notice, this guy is keyed. Let me see if I'm getting it on camera there. So you can see that there's one tab on the top and two on the bottom of this inner housing right here, and that matches up to this guy over here as well. So there should hopefully be only one way that you can install this guy back on. Which seems to be the case. So now we'll reinstall our fog light. You hear the snap of the two tabs, and we should be good to go. So we have our fog light installed. I just want to make sure that it powers up before I go and seal everything back up, because that would be a real bummer. Like I said, the light should be keyed to the socket that you plug it into, so there shouldn't be any polarity issues, but let's just test to make sure that that guy pops on. And look at that, a nice bright white LED fog light. And if we go ahead, do a side-by-side comparison, you can tell that's a heck of a lot brighter on the left-hand side and a nice bright white light. It'll be hard to see during the daylight, but at night we'll definitely be able to tell the difference. So go ahead, swap out our right-hand side, our driver's side one, and then button everything back up. Beautiful. And once you have both fog lights installed, to button things up, go ahead and throw your T15 Torx screws back in here, and then we can move on to the headlights. Okay, let's go ahead and start on the driver's side, because the passenger side looks like it's going to be a huge pain, and we're going to do a little bit of research before we get that in. But starting off on our driver's side, on the outboard side right here, this cover, this is your projector low beam, and this cover right here is your reflector high beam. And what you're going to do is essentially unscrew this dust cover, quarter turn, pops off. You see that's got a nice gasket around here. Make sure you don't lose that, because that's kind of what helps keep some of the water out and seals up your entire system. So we'll go ahead and put that aside nice and safe. And you can see we have access to our high beam right down here. So in order to get the bulb out of the socket, it'll be a simple quarter turn left, and this guy will slide right on out. And I almost forgot, I'm not wearing gloves, and since I want to save these guys, I'm going to go ahead and throw a pair on. So 1 second and we'll get right back to it. And a good note too, guys, save your packaging, because when we open this up, and I know you're way too zoomed in to see, but if you guys can see, our low and high beams are nicely housed within this case. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll save the packaging so that way we can put our halogen guys right back in their slots, so that way they're nice and protected. And if we need to swap them back in for any reason whatsoever, we can go ahead and do that. So without further ado, we'll continue to get our high beam off. Now, to take these guys off, the best method, you'll see that there are these two little tabs on the actual connector itself on the truck. And what you need to do is, with a screwdriver, I did this kind of off camera because I'd get in your way from the filming, but you essentially want to pry on these two guys. Now be careful, because if your vehicle is older, these guys could be a little bit brittle and you don't want to break it, because then you're just gonna have to buy a part. But very gently you pry with these two guys to lift them up a little bit, and then this center tab, which is on the light itself, will slide right out. So it just takes a little bit of time. Take it nice and slow. You'll be able to get it out. And then we have the connection. And you can see right here, this is the tab that kind of locks it into place, and you have two other tabs that kind of slide around it, you have to lift up on these two and then slide this guy out. So with that being said, high beam is out. We can head over to our LEDs and see what our replacement is. And for our high beams, we can see on the back of the bulb, and just for knowing, we have the 9005s. And when you go ahead and take a look at the LEDs themselves, they have these nice little tags on there that say 9005. So overall, really like the construction. They feel nice and heavy duty. You can see they have the built-in fan right there, so that'll be really nice. And it's a nice gray color, so hopefully it won't stick out like a sore thumb in our reflector housing as being something that's different. So in order to install these guys, it's technically the reverse of how we uninstalled our halogens. We're gonna go ahead, make our connection, and like always, we have the tab right here. These guys are keyed, so there should only be one way to install them, but if you manage to install them backwards and you turn your lights on and they don't pop on, it may just be a polarity issue. You just have to switch it 180 degrees opposite. But because it's keyed, we shouldn't have that issue. So we'll go ahead and make our connection down here. Being careful with our brand new LED. And I apologize, I'm trying not to get in the way of the camera work, but it's all kind of hard to see at the moment. So you hear a nice snap right there. We have a nice solid connection. In fact, I can snap the other one in too. A bit closer, there we go. You heard the snap. So we're tied in down there pretty well. Now it's just a matter of taking our bulb, our LED bulb right here, and doing the 180 degree tie-in. And like that, we're installed. So now it's just a matter of getting our wiring, which you can see down there. Oops, sorry. We have a little bit of excess wiring. We're just going to go ahead and tuck that underneath the reflector down here. So if we tuck it underneath that guy right there, we still want to maintain this black edge around here because that's where our seal and cap end up sealing to. So you're just going to want to tuck everything inside there, and then you can screw your cap back on as well. So installing the cap just requires a little bit of finessing. You just want to make sure that you'll feel it when it seats. You'll feel that it's in there flush, and then you'll just do a quick 90-degree turn and just do a quick inspection. Make sure that your gasket and seal are nice and flat and you don't see anything exposed around there, so we should be sealed off. Now we'll go ahead, move over, and it's basically the same exact process on our low beam as well. Remove the cover, take the socket off, take the bulb out, place the bulb, put the socket back in, and put the cover in. So I will go ahead and just film that real quick for you guys. So this connector is slightly different. We have a pin on here that we need to pry up with the screwdriver in order to remove our bulb. So just do that, pull that guy out, and then we'll go reinstall our new bulb. See, that's an H11. And there you go. Honestly, the trickiest part is just getting this guy to seal right on up. So let's go ahead, throw you on a stand and see our comparison. Okay, bright light incoming. So on our driver's side, we have our LEDs. Passenger side, we're still rocking the halogen. So let's do a quick comparison. Low beam. You can't really see it in the daylight, but that's a lot whiter, and the passenger side's a lot yellower. Looks nice and clean. High beam's not bad either. I definitely prefer the whiter look to these guys than the yellowishness of this. And to be brutally honest, I know a lot of guys are like, go full LED, but I don't mind the mix of halogen and LED. I feel as though the amber of the turn signal is okay on its own. So we will we'll go ahead, hop on the passenger side, and do the same. Hopping over to the passenger side, in order to get access to our headlights, we have to take this plastic cover off, which is just held with one clip here, and then a T20 Torx. They switched it up on us. T20 Torx bolt right up there. But one thing I want you guys to note, I'm sorry for the shakiness, but if you can see in there, we have water accumulation. So be careful. I mean, if you take it through car washes or you wash it yourself, this may be a spot that is prone to water being held in, and there's no drainage here, so this guy will probably be one of the first things to rust out on you. So whenever you wash your car, maybe just check under there and take some of the water out just to prevent that guy from rusting. But go ahead, remove it. Right there. Yeah, you can already see this truck is only half a year old, probably. We're already starting to get a little bit of rust on there, so keep an eye out on that guy, just as a quick tip. And then when it comes to removing this clip back here, I highly suggest using trim removal tools, especially if your truck is a little bit older. These guys may be a little bit more brittle, but I think I'm just going to try with a screwdriver because that's what I have on hand right now, and this will be the quick and easy fastener removal. Okay. Make sure you don't lose that guy. In fact, I popped out the entire insert. It's no big deal, we didn't break it, but you'll want to get both pieces out. So you'll make sure you want to take out both pieces. We'll toss that aside. And we should be good to remove this plastic cover. I lied. There's another plastic cover right here. We'll need to take this guy off as well. Give me 1 second, I'll show you where you need to remove the clip. And then in order to remove this plastic piece right here, you'll see that there is another clip hidden. Let's see if I can show it. Underneath this lip right here, there's that little guy over to the left, right here. So go ahead, pop this guy out, and you'll be able to pull back the cover to have access to the headlights underneath there. So on the passenger side, you will be working in tight corners once you get that clip and that clip removed. Essentially, you just got to peel it back. You can see the high beam right there, low beam a little bit further back, but really it's the same process that you did on the passenger side, just with a little bit less space to do everything. But overall, once you get the practice done on the driver's side, passenger side goes by fairly quickly. Just a little bit technical with those couple of extra pieces that you have to remove. So we'll go ahead, throw our covers back on, and then see the difference. And it is worth noting, if you don't have a pair of gloves, the Sealight S2 package does come with a pair of cloth gloves, which is really nice, as well as a warranty card, which I'll do a little research on, maybe enroll in that, and an instruction manual. I didn't end up using it, but it's hard to flip through. Seems pretty comprehensive. I mean, you should be able to follow the directions in there, but Really, if you've worked in automotive or if you've ever replaced bulbs, it's fairly straightforward. You probably didn't even need to see me do this entire process, but there are some quirks here and there with some of the covers you have to remove. But it is worth noting, the kit from Sealight, very comprehensive, and I do applaud that. I think it's really good. As well as the packaging, we have all of our old halogens in here. So this will just go in a box with all my other Colorado stock parts that I have. And if we need to use them one day down the line, we can go ahead and do that. So I say we close the hood and see our new lighting system. Let's take a look under the hood and see what we have. Now, I know there's a lot of background noise, so you probably can't hear it, but the fans are very quiet on both sides. You can't hear it from the inside of the truck. As well, and take my word for it, just because you can't do copyright music on the channel, the radio has no reception issues with these headlights on. So overall, really stoked about the new setup. I think it gives the truck a way more modern feel. So let's take a look at what it's like at night. Okay, so first nighttime recording. You can see we have a fairly good line with our low beams on our LEDs right here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the fogs on just to see what those are like. Whoa. Okay, these guys are bright. I don't know if you can see. Our beam is actually kind of up, so I would not recommend running with your fog lights on if you have oncoming traffic. But it does really illuminate the whole entire area over here, as you can see in front of the driveway. Do high beam. High beam just seems to project a little bit further. Nothing, I mean, that makes sense, but our fog lights, that's what I'm most surprised about. Holy cow, these things look pretty good. Well, let's get you on the tripod. Let's do a little bit of driving around. So we'll turn you guys on here. This is a fairly dark road. These are our low beams. Let's see what our high beams look like. Whoa, there's a lot of projection down the road, so this is definitely a lot better than what we had before with our standard halogens. Now, I will say, the good news with these low beams that I had before, I was driving to get to this location. Not a single person flashed me with their high beams, so that's good. It means our low beams are in decent shape. They're aimed properly, everything. Out of the box, plug and play, seemed really good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and turn on our fog lights. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, there's, I'll turn them off because there's a car coming up ahead. When we were at the house, projecting onto the garage, you could tell that the fog lights were a lot more reflective up towards the top of the garage. When you see them here, when we turn them on in actuality, they do function more as genuine fog lights. I would not recommend driving around just with the fog lights on as your running lights. I would definitely recommend keeping your low beams on as well, but go ahead and turn these fogs back off. Overall, really impressed with the way that these guys turned out. The low beams project fairly well, and we are not blinding oncoming traffic, which is always a plus. Go ahead and throw our brights on, drive around with these guys. Overall, fairly happy with the pattern of these guys. Obviously there's a difference between halogens and them, but overall beam pattern, projects fairly well. So with that, I think I'll turn the camera off. Hopefully it came across well on camera. The difference between the halogens and these new LEDs are overall really happy with the setup. Hopefully if you guys are considering these lights for your truck as well, this gives you a little bit of an insight as to some of the performance that you can expect going forward. So turn this off and catch you back when it's daytime. So with that, I hope this video proved to be helpful for you guys if you're looking for a similar set of LED lights for your car or truck. I know I'm really happy with the way that these guys turned out and definitely giving the truck a more modern look. So, thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.